certainly.
Thank you.
Technical difficulty, I think, is what they call this.
You know what? I can't take you anywhere.
Stuff. Marks advanced. Should be go, Joe.
You are funny.
Right?
You know, I have to open mic at the Comedy House on Wednesdays. You should try it out. I'll come and support you.
I know. I'd rather protect you guys.
I'll come and support you.
I think it's sinus. I've had it for a couple of weeks now. Mucinex.
Well, 95.
Yeah. I guess the funeral's at 2 o'clock.
What are you going to do for you?
So I'm kind of confused because, like, when I was at work and I was working on the job, I'd say, hey, why did you come up with this thing, you know? And so I'm not there. They're not there. So here's my No.
Don't you dare do that. So you're basically telling her, happy birthday, clean up the house. Don't do that. Let me tell you a better idea.
Okay. The Rules Committee. Oh, that's working too? You've done both. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for your patience, everyone. We are live now.
We are live now. Should we start at the top or should we just continue?
You can continue. It was an open meeting, so you don't need to start over.
Don't have to start over?
Correct.
Oh.
Okay, we're going to move forward. Where were we?
Would you like me to read it in so that?
Oh, I
those
know
watching-
that. I know we were
we
talking,
gotta start all the way
discussing
over?
your resolution, but I can't
okay.
remember. Mr. Malik, were you finished?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't?
I was not.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Malik, then. We'll pick up from Mr. Malik, and then we'll recognize Ms. Holland.
Thank you. I want to thank my colleague for bringing this in. I believe it cut out right when I asked to be a co-sponsor. But obviously just want to note how important this is with the discussions that happened this weekend around our schools. And I know all of us were anxiously awaiting, hoping that a strike could be averted and a fair deal could be reached with our teachers. And obviously this all comes about because, you know, the way that we fund our schools is incredibly inequitable and is actually unconstitutional. And so help is needed at the federal level precisely because really we're faced with this difficult choice of constantly going for more levies versus paying people a fair wage. And I'm glad that there were significant pay increases for our teachers and that our kids are in school today. But this issue has to be fixed nationally as well as locally. And so I appreciate you bringing this in, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Nancy Holland?
Thank you, Chairman Fusco. I'd like to thank Councilwoman Mosley for this resolution. There is no issue that I am more passionate about, and I'd like to think that that's the feeling of most of us here in the Horseshoe and beyond. I've said this a million times, I think, in this room and other rooms too, that the client of public education is society. That when we invest our greatest resources and as much as we can into the public education system, we are investing in our future. Right. It is simply the best move we can make. It should be at the top of every list. As it happens, for some 40 or 50 years now, social scientists have repeatedly pointed to a straight line connection between investment in teachers and success of school districts. Mm-hmm. It is simply beyond argument. The other thing that is just absolutely beyond argument is that the one predictor of academic success is class size and opportunity for school kids to have meaningful, direct contact with qualified, happy, fairly compensated educators. Right. So I am so grateful to see this on today's agenda and would ask respectfully if I might co-sponsor it as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any Any other questions or comments?
No, I do hope this evening that we could do this as mayor and council as a whole.
Oh, thank you
I
very
do hope
much.
that we can do that.
Yeah, I believe, yes. Okay, I see Linda Mobian, hand is up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I too strongly agree that the most important element of any citizenry is to make sure that we're well educated and that our children can think independently and do the necessary work to have a good life. As a former school board member, it is critically important that we get any kind of assistance we can from wherever. And it's good to know that the federal government is saying that this is critically important and that they're willing to put up money to make sure we try to keep pace with the inflation, because teachers are never paid well. And depending on where you live, you're not able to raise money as some districts are. So this is a nationwide problem, but particularly in the Akron area, I was pretty surprised to see how low we are when it comes to the 17 school districts where Akron teachers are. But this is important, and I certainly agree that, and thank Councilwoman Mosley, and hope that we will all join in this effort to endorse this and let the federal government know that this is important and is high on our list of priorities. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm not hearing any. I would ask that my name be added, if it's okay with the sponsor, the primary sponsor on this. Coming from a family of teachers, I would be in big trouble if I wouldn't check off on this one. But no, and recognize too that it's such an upward battle for teachers in terms of, you know, they and what they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and then just to get to that $60,000 plateau is very, very difficult, and then paying off loans and the challenges that they all have to undertake, and obviously pay is commensurate with the attraction of quality individuals to teach our children, and so on. So I think I appreciate this, bringing this in. I'd like to entertain a motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Go ahead.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Very good. The ayes have it. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Our next committee of the day is the Public Service Committee. Those committee members are Mosley, Kamer, Holland, Lombardo, and McKittrick. We do have all committee members present whenever you're ready, Madam Chair.
I am ready. We do not have any legislation before us, but we do have Metro Regional Transit Authority here to speak with us today. So if you ladies could come and join us over here at the Horseshoe. We have our CEO, Don Disler, with us, Valerie Shea and Tasha Harris.
Absolutely.
Sarah, do we have any meeting minutes to approve from there? Okay, if we could get a motion for approval of our previous meeting minutes.
Make that motion. Approve. Motion to approve.
Can I get a second? Second. Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, okay. So good afternoon. We have with us members of the Metro Regional Transit Authority. CEO Don Disler will do introductions, and they will give us an overview of what they have going on at the Metro Transit Authority. So Don, take it away.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you for letting us crash your party here, and we appreciate that. To my left here is our Director of Planning and Civil Development, Valerie Shea. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, I don't know how these work, see? And also behind me is Tasha Harris, who is our Chief Culture Officer. So we're here today because Metro is embarking on probably one of the biggest things that we've done in decades, and we are doing a complete redesign of our network. We have been working hard to make sure, like many of you and many of our businesses, that we got through the pandemic, got through, I know we're not completely out, but still on the other side of that, we're very proud to say that we made that movement without having to lay off any of our valued team members. So we were able to keep everyone employed, able to keep service on the street, although be it a very smaller service. And we decided that, every challenge becomes an opportunity, and we felt that it was one of the biggest things we learned from the pandemic is that we have to really focus on why we're here. We have to focus on the people who use our public transportation system every day. These are people who need us. And there are people out there who choose to use us also, which we love everyone the same, but we have to make a system that really works for the people who need us to get where they're going. And one of the best things that you can do and have for a vibrant and successful city is a vibrant transportation system. So when I was out riding the buses and talking to our passengers, one of the things that we heard over and over again, I'm like, what do you need us to do different? What do you need us to change, And as a CEO of a transit system, you expect to hear the things, oh, well, this driver's not very nice, or this guy never waits for me, or something like that. Here, I didn't hear that. What I heard here was, we just need more. We need more of what you have, and we need it more often. And so we embarked on a strategic plan, first of all. And from our strategic plan came one of the biggest things that we knew was going to have to happen, and that's a network redesign. So we had a transit COA, which is a comprehensive operational assessment, and then also what came from that was a transit development plan. And we were able to work with one of the best consulting teams in the entire nation, Jarrett Walker and Associates, who has written a book called Human Transit. If you need some good reading, look that book up. It's a great book. And his group was able to help us to really crunch numbers, crunch where people are, crunch where jobs are, crunch where our medical facilities are, and try to redesign our system so that it really takes people where they need to go and takes them there more often. We are in our third and what we hope to be our final round of public comments. So we are going out to your wards. Many of you have invited us to your ward meetings, which we will be at, and we'll be really talking to everyone about, hey, we heard you the first time, we made some tweaks. We heard you the second time, we made some more tweaks. Here's where we're at now. And we're excited to get the feedback from your constituents, the community that we serve, and hear what they have to say about this final round, of public comment, and this final push towards a brand new way that Metro actually runs their system throughout the city, throughout the county, and making connections with other regions, which we think was also very important. So with that, we were able to, we think, come up with a really good plan that is going to take a good portion of our system to run more often. We go from having only 2 routes that we considered frequent routes to having 5 routes that we consider frequent routes. And then we have some other routes that we added to be like 20 and 30-minute, 40-minute service rather than an hour service. We're going to run the core of our routes 7 days a week instead of 5 and 6 days a week. We're doing this all with our current budget. So this is all being done within our current budget, and we're pretty proud of what that is. And what I'd like to do now is, I'm the CEO there, but the people who do all the hard work are the people that are on my team. And Valerie Shea has been spearheading this whole network redesign, and I want her just to kind of tap on some of those raw numbers, those things that tell you exactly why this is much better for the people that you're serving here in your community. Valerie?
Thank you very much, Dawn, and thank you, Chairwoman Mosley, for having us here today and allowing us to go over.
I'm sorry to interrupt. If you could pull that microphone a little closer, that'll make it easier for those joining remotely to hear.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Is that better? Okay. For allowing us to kind of describe the changes in detail that we're looking at. As Dawn said, this is a full network redesign, so essentially every bus route that you see on the road today will be changing slightly or significantly. As of right now, we are hoping to implement this new network on June 4th of this year, 2023. It's about 147 days away, I believe, at this point. So we're really gearing up to make sure that we're getting the word out to the community, again, getting that final round of input, and then making sure we're continuing to educate so that when that June 4th date comes along, our residents know what is changing. So in the packets that you have with you today, you have a lot of information in there. There's some existing maps as well as maps of what the service, the draft plan looks like. Just to kind of orient you with the map, the gold color, which you'll see on the existing map, that's very limited service. So the colors of the lines represent how often that bus runs. So a gold is limited, which means it only comes more than once an hour. So it might be every 90 minutes that it's coming, or only during the peak periods. The light blue routes are every 60 minutes. The dark blue are every 30 minutes. The purple is every 20 minutes. And then you'll see when you look at the new plan, there's red routes, and those are those corridors that Dawn mentioned, where we'll have 5 corridors that are every 15 minutes. So a bus is coming down the road every 15 minutes. On average, someone is only waiting about 7.5 minutes for that bus to come. So there's also some additional information that I'll kind of go over in terms of key outcomes within your packets, but happy to answer any questions on those at the end as well. So some of the key features of the new network, as Dawn mentioned, we'll have those 5 new 15-minute corridors that are shown in red. We'll also have the addition of 3 new 30-minute corridors in addition to the ones that we have on the street today. And beyond that, we were really focused on where the jobs are, where do people need to go. It's been over 20 years since we've kind of looked at travel patterns and development patterns and made any adjustments on a holistic basis to the network to respond to those. So we looked at, our boundary is technically Summit County, but that's an invisible line to many people trying to travel. So we're looking at ways that we can make more regional connections to get folks across those invisible county boundaries to places that Summit County residents need to go. So those are the 5 key features there. Again, there's a couple maps. One kind of zooms in on the city of Akron so you can see a little more detail of where those corridors are. But those high frequency corridors are West Market, East Market, South Arlington, East Exchange, and then in the in the South Akron neighborhood we have Grant and Brown, and then on the west side we have the Euclid Diagonal and Vernon Odom corridors. So you'll see those all covered by various routes. The new 30-minute service is going north on North Main Street and Cuyahoga Falls Avenue. We also have new 30-minute service on Eastland and Britton, as well as Brown and Inman in South Akron, in addition to all of our existing 30-minute routes on Copley Road, Canton Road, Lakeshore and Kenmore, Howard, Romig, and 5th Street down in Barberton. Just to briefly touch on those new regional connections, we have 2 new connections to the city of Kent, as well as Kent State University. So there'll be an express service in the draft plan called Route X91 that will start downtown at our Robert K. Paff Transit Center, go through the University of Akron, hop on the freeway for an express trip over to Kent State University, and ending up at the Kent Central Gateway, which is where the Portage Regional Transit Authority has kind of their headquarters of their operation. And then we'll also connect to Kent up through Stowe as well on an hourly basis. We're also going to just jump that 1 mile or so over the county line from Talmadge into Brimfield to connect to the new retail there, as well as providing maybe most a pretty exciting new connection is on the east side of Cuyahoga County. We'll be connecting to Southgate Transit Center, which is in Maple Heights. So now continuing north past the casino, which is currently our northern terminus, all the way into Maple Heights, connecting with many of the routes from the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority that serve the east side of Cuyahoga County. So we're really excited about those new connections. So the point of all of this, obviously, was to provide that better, faster, more frequent service for our folks, our transit loyal passengers who depend on us every day. So some of our key outcomes that we look at are how many more jobs are folks able to reach with this new network, right? And we use jobs as an indicator, but just because honestly the data is the most readily available, but jobs also are kind of a placeholder, you know, where there's a lot of jobs, a hospital, retail centers, those are also just where people want to go as well, even if they're not necessarily employed there. So that, if we look at the residents who are near transit, which is about 97% of the folks that are near transit today will remain near transit in the future, and of those folks that are near transit, they'll see an increase in job access of 53% for the average Summit County resident of jobs that they can get to within 45 minutes on transit. And that includes their time getting to the bus stop, waiting for the bus, riding the bus, getting to their destination. So we see that as a huge benefit across the county. And then when we zoom in and we focus on our lower income populations, our minority populations, for lower income residents, that increase is actually 104%. So over double the amount of jobs that they can access within 45 minutes now, they'll be able to access with the new plan. And for residents of color, that is 89% increase. So we're really seeing those impacts being focused on our populations who are riding our bus. Some additional outcomes that we are, just wanted to point out, again, pointing out that frequency and the convenience of being near a bus that comes every 15 minutes or 30 minutes and really reducing your wait time for the bus to come by. I mentioned it's about the same amount of people that are covered that have proximity to service before and after, but currently only 36% of those folks have access to a bus that comes every 30 minutes or less. And with the Reimagined Metro network, we'll see that number increase to 64% of folks. And that includes that 15-minute service, which we don't even have on the street today. So we're really seeing those wait times, that access, the kind of wall around your life being expanded by these frequencies being put into place. So with that, I will turn it back over to Dawn to wrap us up. I just wanted to highlight some of the key outcomes that we're seeing. Again, if you would like us to come to your ward meeting and you don't have us on the schedule already, please let us know. Yep, absolutely. Happy to take questions.
Okay. Don, you have anything else you want to add?
No, just thank you again for allowing us to be here today. We felt it was extremely important. We're seeing our appointing authorities and going out into the community to really let people know what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish, and how learn more about how we can help more. So please feel free to reach out to us, or if you have any questions.
Yeah. Yeah, we will open it up for questions. I have a few. I know you all have been doing an amazing job with outreach for hiring. How is that going, seeing that this draft proposal for services seems like it's going to be an influx of transit on the road? So how is the hiring going as compared to what you're about to do here?
The hiring is actually going very well. So we had a huge hiring event at the end of the summer, and we had 99 people come to our hiring event. Of that hiring event, we offered jobs to 71 individuals. 35 of those were able to get the credentials that we needed them to get, pass drug tests, pass background checks, be able to receive their CDL permits. We had 35 who went into the class. We are about 2 or 3 weeks from everybody being kind of done and fully trained, and we still have 31 people in that class. So we're very pleased with this. We are still about 40 bus operators short, 45, somewhere in there. So we have 23 more people who are scheduled to begin training in, I think, the second week of February. And then we have another hiring event, which we will be doing late February, early March. So this entire timeline that we have has been predicated completely on, do we have enough bus operators and mechanics to get the job done? And so we're still looking to hire, but we feel confident that we will have enough bus operators to get this job done. And I'm excited because our board for our budget for this year passed, as part of that budget, a 5% increase in service, which can happen as soon as we get enough bus operators. So I'll need about 10 more bus operators on top to put that 5% increase in there, so be looking forward to that as soon as we can get that number of people. But I think that we have done, I'm very proud of what the group has done, because we've really looked at this in a whole different way. It's not, it used to be people were knocking at your door to come work for you, and now it's, hey, how do I get you here? What can I do to help you? How do I get you through the process? And I think we're getting people that are just more genuine. I think they know we care, and they know that we care about them and we care about their success. And so I think that they care more about us, and they care more about doing a great job. And I think it's really bringing a whole different dynamic and a different culture to Metro.
Right. And speaking of that, what are your requirements for hire?
To be a bus operator, we recently, matter of fact, just last year, lowered the age from 21 to 18. You can get a CDL license at 18. Matter of fact, we've been knocking on the doors of the different school systems to say, hey, we want to grab your folks. Not everybody goes to college. We want to grab these kids that aren't going to college as they come out the door of graduating, and give them the opportunity for a good union-paying job. So you need to be able to, again, pass a drug test. That's an FTA requirement. Yeah. And then once you have that and you get the CDL permit, we teach you how to drive the bus. And then we also have a partnership with Stark State, so some of our folks are going through Stark State for the CDL program.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. One final question. I was looking through the different brochures, and there's the topic in here about the grocery bus service, and I know that's been suspended. Do you all plan on bringing that back?
Go ahead, Valerie.
Sure, we do plan on bringing it back. We're haven't finalized what that will look like. We're kind of on the spirit of reimagining. We're reimagining what the grocery bus will look like too, but we are certainly hoping to serve as many buildings as we can, getting them at least to and from a grocery store once a week. So stay tuned for more details on that, but we are working on bringing that back.
All right,
as well.
great. That's good to know. Any questions from committee members? Councilwoman Holland and Councilwoman Amobian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies, thanks for being here today. My name is Nancy Holland. I represent Akron Ward 1. You will actually be at my February ward meeting, so it's nice to have a preview. I am a huge fan of public transportation, and that's for a number of reasons, including my own successful experiences and that of my children using Metro RTA. There was a time when my children were outraged to learn that they would not automatically receive the car of their dreams upon reaching the age of 16. And we spent a summer becoming acquainted with how to use the bus. And later they came to understand that there's even more to it than the fact that they had the meanest mother on the planet. That in fact, using a robust and efficient public transit system is good for the planet. It has a lot of things that really commend it to all of us. So all of that said, I am looking at today's map and the June map, and something concerns me a little bit. And this comes from a number of calls from residents in Ward 1's section of what we know as the Valley. And this one's kind of near to my heart. When my late father was actually, 1 foot in the retirement door, if you will, he frequently used the bus. He practiced law up until just a few days before he left this life, and found a great deal of joy in being able to read his newspapers and, make his notes for whatever court argument was scheduled while taking the bus downtown. So I say all that to say he lived in the Valley. And I hear a great bit from specifically residents of the Timber Top Apartments. I think certainly you better than I are aware that at a certain point in the not too distant past, they lost their close by bus stop. And I'm interested in understanding how we serve the folks, and there are many, many renters on Portage Trail Extension. If you can kind of give me a preview, and I guess I'm offering this to you as a preview too, because I'm quite sure that at that February meeting, there will be questions about this. So thanks, I'll be quiet now.
No, we appreciate that. Valerie, you want to go ahead and address that?
Sure, yeah, and certainly we understand that, and yes, there was a previous circulator bus that was operating that we suspended during COVID due to workforce shortages, and then that was an area that as we were doing our analysis and evaluation that didn't quite rise to the top of where we were able to put a bus route with this draft, but again, still accepting comments and willing to look at these areas. I would offer kind of the other buckets of services that we have as well, which are our demand response services as well as new mobility as potential solutions there. Demand response services are programs such as SCAT for our seniors, as well as our ADA program, where if you're within a certain distance of a fixed route, which I believe Timbertop might be there, I could check on that on the ADA side, but SCAT does not have that boundary. Where you would be able, if you're qualified for those programs, you'd be able to get the more door-to-door service. That could be an option, but then we also are focused on a bucket of services called new mobility, which is kind of more fluid and has some additional flexibility to it, and is also similar to grocery bus, kind of still in development, where we're looking at those areas where maybe we couldn't, we didn't quite get there with a fixed route service, and maybe the demand response service doesn't actually suit the need either. So what is that area in between where we could reimagine, think outside the bus, as Dawn likes to say, on how to get people from the area that they live to a bus stop. So I know it's kind of a broad answer at this point, but we are looking at different ways that we're able to make those connections and make some partnerships to make those happen.
Terrific, thank you for that. And just one quick follow-up question, Madam Chair, if you don't mind. Am I reading the maps right? Is the bus stop for the Valley, is it at Liberty Commons? Is that where the current stop is?
Yeah, it's shown on the map, back by, at Weathervane Circle. Yeah.
Okay. And is there, well, and we can actually take this up either after this meeting or after the meeting or at the meeting in February. I feel like I need a better sense of how to direct citizen concerns to the right people. I think that maybe some of our contacts need some updating. So if we can make that happen, that would be so appreciated.
Absolutely.
Thanks, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Councilwoman Amobian?
Thank you very much, Chairwoman Mosley. A huge thank you to Metro for all that you're doing with regard to transportation. I've attended a couple of your public input meetings at different times, so I know that you're out there getting input from the public to make your changes, and this sounds like a huge change with your network redesign. So thank you for doing that. I also want to thank you for, I know how difficult it is to try to identify groups of folks that particularly are in need of your services. But as I was reading your literature, I saw that you've identified that there are a number of African Americans in certain precincts and areas who really need the services that you offer. And I have seen, I'm sure others have as well, when you are driving down West Market Street, particularly in the Montrose area, because you have a lot of folks from the west side or different parts of the city of Akron who actually work in those service-oriented jobs on the Hill. And I've seen many times when they've been running to catch the bus, but knowing that you're going to have more frequent transportation going up and down that corridor is exciting, and thank you so very much for doing that. And I know that you're going to provide services to all groups, but it's helpful to identify where are the real needs in our city, and those areas that I've attended when you've been seeking input has been downtown at your transit station here on Bowery and on Broadway. So, I mean, that's huge. My question, and you answered the one because I wanted to know if you had a relationship with Stark State. So you've already answered that you do, and some of your bus drivers are being trained through that program. The SCAT services, I'm trying to understand more about how you're going to provide services to those senior citizens who have been utilizing SCAT services for years. Because the one thing they talk about, and I realize that you're never going to have immediate services at your fingertip, but some people don't like to use it because of the delay in getting back from their appointment and all of that. Some of that may not change, but I don't know. So if you can respond to that. And also, as you identify areas that you want to focus on, what percentage of the ridership would to be for you to focus on that area to do any kind of redesign? So those are my couple questions, but thank you for what you've done. This is huge.
Valerie, why don't I let you answer the second part of that question, and then I'll take the first part. You go ahead.
Sure, and just to make sure I heard the full extent of the second part of the question, how do we determine where we're focusing with the redesign and what areas of the city and the county?
And what percentage of the ridership do you look at in terms of looking at redesigning an area?
Sure. Yeah, so focusing the direction from the strategic plan was to really focus our redesign resources to serve those folks who rely on us and those folks who have continued to use our service. So looking at where existing ridership is and the connections that folks are making was a very large part of our system redesign, and then trying to I spread the peanut butter, if you will, in a way that captures the most people was one of the main goals of the redesign. So we were able to do that and see these great outcomes with job access without losing a whole lot on the coverage side. So it's about 97% of existing boardings are still going to be covered with service with the Reimagined Metro Network, as well as focusing that high frequency service on those areas of high ridership to create those faster connections. Let me know if that didn't answer your question.
Sure it does.
Okay, great. And so let me address the SCAT, our demand response service is what we call that. And of course, SCAT is always going to be near and dear to my heart because SCAT was my first job when I went into management. So I was the operations manager for the SCAT department. And SCAT started out as the Senior Citizens Area Transit. So it was for senior citizens. And then it evolved into what was later known as Special Citizens Area Transit, and we incorporated people with disabilities. And this was right around the time or just before the time of ADA. So ADA had not become, that full-fledged federal law that it is today. When you're looking at demand response services and the way they're put together now, one of the things that we noticed is that there's a lot of folks that were going onto the SCAT program and not many signing up for the ADA program. The ADA program is, and I'll say that again because I know sometimes I talk in acronyms, the Americans with Disabilities Act is a complementary service for us that goes along with the fixed route that's there now. So people with disabilities who are unable to ride the fixed route bus because of their disability then qualify for this ADA service. This ADA service is for anyone who is within 3/4 of a mile of a fixed route. And it runs at the same times that those fixed routes run. SCAT, on the other hand, is Monday through Friday, 7 to 5, 7 to 6. So what we see is there were a lot of people who had a lot of needs, but they didn't really understand what the service was that they're eligible for and that they could have. When I first started explaining this, even our board said, so you're gonna try to save money by cutting back on SCAT service or cutting back. No, that's not the intent at all. The intent of this is not to save money. It's to efficiently use the money that we have better because it's taxpayer dollars, and it's the right thing to do, but also to let people know the different services that are available to them, because a person with a disability has just as much right to get out and do the things and be independent that they need to do as anyone else does. I truly believe that public transportation in all of its forms is a civil right, and it's a right for every person in your community. So what we are doing in the second phase of our network redesign, which will be our demand response services, after we get the network into place, we're jumping right in already and looking at those demand response services. And we are already, I can't talk, we are already moving people to the ADA service, which will allow them greater opportunities, greater mobility. We are going to move SCAT to become back to being for senior citizens. Something that makes it easy for grandma, grandpa, in my case, mom, dad, to be able to get where they need to go, that once a day, twice a day, whatever that might be, that's simpler for them and easier for them, because we all know that as our parents or our grandparents age, they're more afraid, they're more fragile, and anything that's changed or different gets them a little freaked out. And so they need something that's a little more just for them. So what we're trying to do is move the SCAT service to be for people who are senior citizens, move the ADA service to be for people with disabilities who are unable to use the fixed route service. But a more frequent fixed route service that runs more frequently and does what you need it to do is also something that can help the people with disabilities to be able to use that system too, without calling in advance. Just go out and get on the bus, because all of our buses are accessible. Every bus is accessible. So whether you're in a wheelchair, use a mobility device, a cane, whatever it might be, visually impaired passengers, because we have the ADA announcements and things like this, people can use the bus. So we're trying to build a network that works for everyone, but make sure that our services grow. We also know, as Val said, in other areas that aren't quite so dense, service for them, public transportation service, is expensive. And running a bus somewhere, which is kind of what we're doing right now, that only runs every hour or 90 minutes, really doesn't help them a whole lot. Because while they can get somewhere, then they can't get back, or they have to wait forever to get back. So we're looking at these other mobility options that we can put together, whether we have currently a couple of different services. One is currently called Flex Ride, one's called Call a Bus, but we're having this other family of services now called Metro Works. And we're hoping it works for everyone, right? And so we're hoping that we can make partnerships with employers. We're also hoping that we can make partnerships with industrial parks, make partnerships even with townships, that we can have bus service or some kind of service. It might be van pools or something like that, that then these folks can go and use those services because they work best in their community. So it's kind of, as Val said, I do like to say, we're trying to think outside the bus. Think of the different ways that there is to provide transportation for people, keep people in this area mobile, and make this a place where people want to come live, want to come work, and that they want to stay here. I grew up here, and only recently, since I've been back over the last 4.5 years, did I even realize what was available in this region, what this region has to offer. And we need to make sure that people, no matter what their status is in this area, no matter what their religion, what their race, socioeconomic status, whatever it is, that they can get where they need to go, and transportation is not a barrier for them. I hope that answered your question, ma'am.
Without a doubt, thank you so very, very much. Very thorough. Thank you.
So we have Councilman Malik and Councilman Fusco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, all three of you, for coming and for all of your work. I really appreciated the opportunity to engage in this process, and, having specific questions about the routes, and being able to work with you around some of that. And particularly appreciate the point raised by my colleague, Councilwoman Holland. If there are any discussions around that, I would be glad to be a part of that. One of the things we've discussed recently at Council, we have in our budget, capital budget for this year, is putting in a sidewalk on Portage Trail Extension. And so if there is potentially, some opportunity to extend that bus service that goes to Cedarwood and, the Liberty Commons right now, and extends around there or nearby, and makes it a little bit easier to pick up folks, I think, on either of the two developments on the side of the street on Portage Trail Extension. I think that'd be great. The only question I have, just briefly, I know one of the things that's often talked about in this space is transit-oriented development, and we're a really great car city. You can get pretty much anywhere, 15, 20 minutes from the east side to the west side, the north side to the south side. But we are perhaps more challenged when it comes to transit. And I know, with Main Street, we made the accessibility of buses a really important feature in the Tiger Grant process. I know right now we're looking at the complete streets in Market and also North Main up to Cuyahoga Falls. So, Don, could you just talk a little bit about how, partnering with those efforts might allow us, both as a city and Metro, to improve our services and improve development?
Sure, absolutely. So there's the two main things that in our world that we're looking at is transit-oriented development, or TOD, and also bus rapid transit, or BRT. With the current infrastructure bill and infrastructure money that's in the federal government, this is the perfect opportunity to be able to start those kinds of, well, it's actually a good opportunity if you're shovel-ready to get going. But for sure to be talking about these different opportunities. With transit-oriented development, it's kind of like the chicken or the egg type thing. Some people will say, once I build this, then I'll ask you for transit. Other people will say, no, if we have transit, we need to build there. I believe it's both. I believe that working together as a transit system as well as a city or a region, that if we look at what we're trying to accomplish and do it together, it's definitely better. I always tell, and I'll tell it very briefly, I promise. I feel like I've hijacked your meeting. So I tell the story of a young woman who I met on the bus, and she explained to me, this is a young woman who has a disability. She has to use the bus. She can't drive, and she has two little children, two small children, and she's trying to do the best she can with what she has to work with. She gets up at 4 o'clock every morning. She gets her kids ready, one ready to go to daycare and one ready to go to elementary school. She gets them ready, feeds them breakfast, gets on the bus, takes one kid and drops them off at school on a bus. She takes that bus back. Then she gets another bus and takes her other child to the daycare, which is on the other side of town. She gets back on that bus and comes back downtown. Then she gets on another bus. It's now about 9 o'clock in the morning. Remember, she started at 4. Most of us are halfway through our day by 5 hours into the day. She then gets on another bus to go out to the Target out in Fairlawn, where she has to be to work at 10 o'clock. She has to leave that job by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She can only work 4 hours because she has to get back to pick up her child at school. She's taken 2 more buses to do that. Back downtown, and now she has to go out and get her kid from daycare and back again. By the time she gets back home, it's about 6 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. After she gets home, then she has to bathe her kids, feed them, help them with homework if there's homework, maybe hopefully read them a story, put them to bed. When does this young lady have time for herself? She doesn't. She's exhausted and she has to go to bed. One of the things that I have always dreamt of, and this is a TOD type project, is if you don't know where our transit center is, our transit center is right down here on Broadway, where Barges comes across, right? There's a parking lot that's right across the street from there that we also own. Now, why a transit system owns a parking lot in the middle of downtown Akron, I have no idea, but I'm happy to have that piece of land. But what I think would be a great opportunity is to take that land and to build, one, a daycare center that is reasonably priced, that someone can use. That way, this poor woman, when she comes to that one spot downtown, where she's usually catching a bus to go out to the other side of town to drop her kid at daycare, she can just walk her kid across the street to the daycare center. Then she can go to work. And maybe she can work more than 4 hours a day, and maybe she's going to get home before 6 o'clock at night. The other part of that transit-oriented development is other things that people might need. Why not a dry cleaner? Why not a coffee shop? Why not another coffee shop? I like coffee. But also, why not have maybe a dentist's office or a doctor's office? On the second level of this building, why not put social service agencies that work? The social service agencies who serve the people who ride our buses and have to ride our buses. On the next part of that, I would love to put our administrative offices at Metro, because there is no better place for my team to be than downtown, where things are going on at our transit center, to see the people and the effect that we're having on their lives every day, and the effect that they're having on ours. Absolutely. And then above that, who knows? Maybe we build affordable housing on top of that. I guess I'm building a skyscraper. I don't know. These are all ideas that I have in the shower, and then when I go to work and tell these guys about them, they say, please, I think we want you to stop taking showers, but we're not sure. So that's transit-oriented development means that you've provided a place where all these things can happen, and you can do it with federally funded dollars. Because you can build the shell of that building with federally funded dollars. And whether I'm coming with a developer, and he's taking that and leasing the land from me, or whether we get into the leasing business, I have no clue. I don't know anything about leasing businesses, but that can also become another funding source. Then Metro can put that money back into the community through better service, more service, service that goes to a lot of different places. That's transit-oriented development. BRT, bus rapid transit, that's being able to help build new roads, to help build new, maybe it's sewer projects, maybe it's broadband lines, maybe it's, I don't know what, but BRT, we can find money working together. We have to be partners and work together to put those grant applications in. Then BRT is just bus lanes that go faster than everybody else goes because everybody else is in traffic.
Right.
And it provides fast service to where people need to go. Maybe it connects Cauga Falls with Akron. Maybe it connects Barberton with Akron. Maybe it connects Greene with Akron. I want Akron to be that hub that everybody's coming to and everybody wants to go to. So that was a very short version of BRT and TOD.
Thank you very much. I would just like to say, I'm fired up, but when I hear, I've heard you say that several times, tell that story, and, we hear lots of ideas around, lots of conversations, like one of the best ideas I've ever heard, right? And it's, if we can make what is to many of us a 15-minute, 10-minute drive to Target, for other people, it's hours out of their day. If we can make that a little bit easier, we can make so many people's lives easier and better.
Absolutely.
And I just want to jump in one thing, because I'd be remiss not to mention that we did actually take that shower idea one step further and pursued funding in partnership with the city through the Areas of Persistent Poverty grant program to do a transit-oriented development feasibility study where we dug in a little deeper to a few different sites, this one being included on a market analysis and kind of some funding and financing opportunities and what is really right-sized and could be feasible there. So we're excited to take the next step beyond that, but thanks for letting me elaborate a little bit there.
Councilman Fusco?
Thank you. Thanks for coming down. Appreciate the conversation. This is great, and would love to be able to access and look at some of that data. Appreciate the fact that you've doubled down in terms of regionalism and expanding beyond just our borders, not only Akron, but Summit County. And also the piece about the jobs. And believe that is something that's, given the fact that we're really kind of behind the times whenever you compare us to, say, Europe in terms of transit, we're not there. One of these days, maybe, but linking the jobs in the family and where they're at is so important and critical, and would be happy to help out and would love to see some of that data and that information. I think all of council would. We have developments that come in from time to time, obviously, and trying to figure out and help and assist in that manner would certainly be welcome. I'm sure it sounds as if you're already working with the Chamber of Commerce, and that's a big piece and a big component of all this. But thank you again for coming down.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Oh, and there's one other thing, real quick. Just that, because I know the hour is late, but it seemed like it would be really cool to have like access, like 303 right there, provide access to people in the city to the, to our Cuyahoga Valley National Park, better access or something like that. That would be really cool, but right down 303 there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, thanks.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions from council members? Seeing none, I want to thank you all for taking some time out of your busy schedules to come and give us a preview of what's to come here in the city of Akron and across the county of Summit. I also want to thank you, Don, for always being very helpful to the community. Whenever we need support from you all, you guys step in, even if it's just by offering Metro passes for residents, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate what you're doing for the city and what you are continuing to do. And daycares and housing, you're speaking my love language, so thank you. And if we don't have anything else coming before us, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next committee of the day will be the Public Utilities and Green Committee. Those committee members are Freeman, McKittrick, Connor, Mosley, and Holland. We'll give everyone a few moments here.
What are we doing? Is this public utilities?
Yeah, I think it's, we're reappointing someone to,
Sitting back down. I can't find a card. I don't have a card.
All right, it is 3:05, and I'd like to call the Public Utilities and Green Committee meeting to order. If I could have a roll call, please.
Freeman.
Here.
McKittrick.
Here.
Connor.
Here.
Mosley. Holland.
Here.
All committee members are present.
And then if I could have a motion to accept the minutes from our last meeting, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we have one resolution coming before us today, and this is a resolution approving and confirming the reappointment of Sarah Brandenburg to the Tree Commission for the term expiring January 1st, 2026, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Gert Wilms on behalf of Mayor Horrigan. Just looking at Sarah's resume, to say she's qualified would be a complete understatement for this position. She has served us very well in this position, has agreed to be reappointed to the Akron Tree Commission. We've provided that resume to you. I would ask for her approval today. I believe her time has lapsed on the committee, and we're asking for that reappointment.
And you have a meeting coming up here real soon, do you not? Okay, so we'll try to get this passed today if we can. Thank you, first of all, for your service. Just your resume is replete with good stuff. So thank you very, 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 very much. And actually would offer the floor to you. Any comments you might have?
I'll be real quick. It's been an absolute pleasure to serve with the people I've been serving with, even Councilman Fusco. No, everybody has been eager to work, free with ideas, and we are, this year, I think we're really going to get our feet on the ground in terms of public education, and in terms of just making the work run smoother, helping John Malish do his almost impossible job. So thank you very much for considering me, and I hope I have your support.
Thank you. I read a great quote in an email from a fellow worker this morning. It says, true living is a person that plants a tree in whose shade he will never rest. And that's, what a great quote. So thank you for what you do. Any questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Malik?
I really want to thank you for all of your work on the tree commission. And I'm really excited about our tree canopy plan. One thing, just as a comment, it would be wonderful to have the tree commission come in and maybe do a presentation about where things are with the canopy plan.
Ms. Holland?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to take this opportunity to thank my longtime friend, Sarah, for her service. And Sarah, I just feel so strongly that with you in this position, that we can all sleep a little better at night, knowing that the future and the present of our tree canopy is in good shape. Thank you so much. I know you're a very busy lady who has served the community in so many ways. Appreciate seeing you here today and your willingness to continue serving this really important role. Thanks.
Mr. Fusco.
Would ask council to suspend the rules and support this. I mentioned to Sarah that we're having trouble getting the votes for her, but we should be able to work it out. But the thing of it is Sarah, not only this is a reappointment, she doesn't know, but she's been the president of our organization here, president chair, but she requires us all call her Madam Chair, and so she's very demanding that way, but it's okay, we've worked through it, but she's done a great job, and we do have a good team. Of course, Sarah Viviano is also on that commission as well, and we are, Mr. Aiken's on it too, and so we're looking forward to continuing to work and continuing your chairmanship of this committee. We appreciate everything you've done so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ludell?
I just pretty much want to echo everything that was said, but Sarah, thank you. I mean, it kind of went so fast, and now you've signed up for another 3 years, and this work always isn't, you think planting trees is just easy work. There's been some difficult conversations we've had with some residents, and Sarah's brought some new light and helped us with the education, and we're going to expand that even more. So when we do send out the notices, there is going to be a follow-up to the residents and explaining the benefits. A lot of people really don't understand the benefits of our tree canopy, and she's helped tremendously. So she's been an asset. I just want to thank you publicly, and we're looking forward to working with you in the future.
Any more words of praise or comment that we have here? All right. Do we have a motion to suspend the rules?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Very, very, very good. Thank you again for your service. We appreciate it deeply on behalf of all the citizens of Akron. Thank you. And we are adjourned at 3:10 p.m. Thank you.
Our final committee meeting of the day is the Budget and Finance Committee. Those committee members are Freeman, Amobian, Malik, Baylor, and Lombardo. If we could just give everyone a moment here. Thanks.
This guy, he's from college now, whatever. Oh, yeah, he came my work. Well, okay, but he's like, I will be attending your next meeting. I'm like, no. No, you won't come when I schedule you. I said, it's all scheduled, plus, but, okay, isn't his target audience like high school seniors? No, it's older people. Well, I know it's post-secondary, it's 25 and up, but, I mean, I don't know. They're looking for older adults who want to practice more adults who at this place in Cleveland.
All right, if we could please, we'd like to call the Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order. If I could have a roll call, please.
Freeman.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Baylor.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Thank you. And could we have a motion to accept the minutes from our last committee meeting, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you. We have one item to come in for us today, and this is an ordinance authorizing an agreement between the Fraternal Order of Police, Akron Lodge 7 Bargaining Unit, and the City of Akron regarding benefit changes through calendar year 2024 and declaring an emergency. Mr. Fricker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this ordinance is really just to put in ordinance form the agreement concerning health care that we had with the FOP. This is the same premium contribution rates that we have with all of the other bargaining units. For whatever reason, it was just never included in the FOP contract ratification ordinance last year, so we're putting it in now. But as I said, this is the same monthly premium contributions that were agreed to with FOP last year and with all of the other unions.
Very good. Questions or comments from the committee? Mr. Malik?
Thank you, Mr. Fricker. Looking at this and speaking with Mr. Williams, I believe, we approved the salary adjustments, but we didn't approve the healthcare benefit adjustments.
Correct.
Okay, so this is just really, a formality. We
Correct.
saw this
Yes,
before.
yes, yeah, and this is what has been in place since last year. Really, the premium contributions as part of the 3-year agreement, they stayed the same last year in 2022 as they were the previous year, and then there's increases in 23 and 24 according to the agreements that were in the contract.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ms. Holland?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Fricker, I feel like I always do this to you when we are talking about a contract-related item. Just for clarity, for those who are watching from home or will look at this later, City Council neither negotiates nor ratifies collective bargaining agreements, isn't that right?
That is correct. We pass an ordinance that related to the wage ordinances, but they do not ratify the contract per se, correct?
Thank you.
Mr. Malik?
If there's not further discussion, I was just going to make a motion. Motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fricker. And I see we had, I don't know if it was through November, our up-to-date income tax receipts. We looked like we were, what, 2.5%, 3% ahead?
So we exceeded 3% growth on a gross basis, but the numbers that we publish, and I've kind of shared this with a few people, we typically publish the gross numbers. On a net basis, because we had higher refunds related to work from home on a net basis, and we haven't finalized our 2022 numbers. I suspect we'll be down slightly, although I think we exceeded budget a little bit. We forecasted to be down 3%. I think it'll be more in the 1% range.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
When will those final numbers be coming to us, do you know?
I'm sorry?
When will the final numbers be
We
coming?
should have those any time now.
Okay.
It's just, we still have a few adjustments at year end to do, so it should be within the next week or two, I would say.
Okay, excellent. Yes. Mr. Malik?
Mr. Fricker, thanks for always providing those numbers. I know, there's a difference between, money in versus money out, but would it be possible on those updates to also provide the net, where we are on a net basis?
Yeah, it is a more relevant number now. It used to, because the refund number used to be fairly consistent, and obviously with work from home, that number has much more variability now. So yes, so we can include those numbers.
All right, thank you so much. But it's great to hear that it's 1%, not 3%.
Yes.
Great.
Do we anticipate that will hold for this coming year?
So I kind of want to talk it over with the tax commissioner. I suspect we will probably show a little bit of growth next year based on, because I don't see the work from home impact being more substantial this year than it was last year. So I hope to see a little bit of growth this year.
All right. We have nothing else to come before us. We will adjourn at 3:15. Thank you.
That is the final committee meeting of the day.
Thanks,
Council
Steve.
will meet at 7 p.m. tonight.